Hidden cameras, Bluetooth tracking, and jail? What actually happens when you break the rules at Disney World? Let's go behind the scenes here on DFB Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, just because you're on vacation at the most magical place on Earth doesn't mean those rules magically disappear too. Disney keeps a close eye on their guests to make sure everyone's staying safe and following the law. And if you step out of line, Disney will probably find out. But don't sweat it. Following the rules in Disney isn't hard, but just in case some misdemeanors do happen around the park, Disney's got some top-notch security in place to keep things orderly, both visibly and invisibly. So what does security look like at Disney World? Let's start by checking out some of Disney's state-of-the-art technology. Ever wonder why you have to scan your finger after you scan your park ticket before entering the park? Well, it's to prevent ticket fraud. According to the Disney World website, the fingerprint scanner will take an image of your finger and turn it into a number for its system. Once that unique number is created, Disney will ditch the image of your fingerprint but store the number and measurement. That way, when you visit the parks on different days, or you park hop, or if you need to leave the park and come back again, that numerical value will be recalled when you scan your finger again to make sure it really is you coming and going with your ticket, and not someone else who might have swiped it from you if it fell out of your back pocket while walking around. Another reason why some might prefer to use their phone or Magic Band to store their card instead of relying on a physical card, because those can be easy to lose if you're not careful. So store them away in your wallet immediately after you use those for safekeeping. In spring of 2021, Disney actually tested a potential new scanning system to replace finger scanners and provide a more touchless security measure in the wake of COVID-19, as well as make the park entry process a little faster. The facial recognition system worked much like the fingerprint scanners. The main difference was that the picture of your face would then be captured and then transformed into a unique number and measurement that could be attached to your park ticket. The technology was supposed to mainly focus on the top portion of your face, since masks were still a big part of the parks back then when this was being beta tested. However, we haven't seen the facial recognition system return to the parks this year, and instead have continued to scan our fingers per usual. Don't worry, the Disney World website promises that the reason they capture this information is for the sake of your privacy protection and to help enhance your overall experience. Of course they do. And you can learn more about Disney's privacy measures that they use throughout their parks on their company website. I can link that in the description below. So what happens with all that stored biometric data and the record that you bought 2 Loungefly backpacks and 5 pairs of mini ears on your last trip? For the most part, Disney is collecting information about you to tailor what they offer to you. You've just used your lightning lane for Space Mountain and it's around lunchtime. You might get a push notification letting you know you can conveniently mobile order some food at Cosmic Rays. Magic Bands that are linked to your account can't physically track you, but when you use them at touch points, that information will get picked up. There are also RFID sensors located around the parks that will trigger other location-specific pop-ups in the My Disney Experience app. If you're in or near a parking lot, you'll probably get a push notification about Disney's new Find My Car service. Disney also uses Bluetooth technology in a similar way to those RFID sensors. Bluetooth is what the new Magic Band Plus uses for a lot of its interactions. Again, they can't track you like a GPS, but if you're waving at those 50th anniversary statues, the technology will log your location, and then you may possibly get a notification to suggest something else nearby. And all of those purchases you make, you probably won't get ads just for more mini ears, but you may suddenly start getting emails from Shop Disney if you've used that email to create your My Disney Experience account. Disney collects info pretty much any interaction you have with the company. That's before your trip, when you're at home watching Disney Plus and booking your hotel, when you download the My Disney Experience app, call the dining reservation line, respond to guest surveys, and whenever you're in the parks and interacting with Disney products and services via technology. Disney does share your info within the larger Walt Disney family of companies, though they rarely, if ever, share that info to third-party entities. The exceptions here are if you've authorized them to pass your info along to a third party, or if the third party has co-branded products or joint ventures like the Disney Visa card or promotions from Hulu or Nat Geo. Using Disney's tech can be tough to avoid during a Disney World vacation. They've got your info from that initial booking or ticket sale, but if you want to cut down on the information you share with Disney, they suggest you update subscription and alert settings and ultimately delete your Disney account when you no longer need access to those services. Once you're in the parks, you're not out of the woods yet. You still gotta be on your best behavior, otherwise you're gonna be caught by the security cameras. Now just assume that while you're walking around the Disney parks, you're more than likely within line of sight of one of Disney's many security cameras. Some security cameras are easier to spot, some more difficult, and some are completely disguised around the different lands, gift shops, and queues. You'll often spot them throughout the parks in the corner of windows or on top of buildings. There are even a few of them on the turrets of Cinderella Castle to keep an eye on the crowds. Even the rides have hidden cameras, and not just for PhotoPass purposes. These cameras make sure that if someone were to do something completely against the ride's rules that'd be dangerous to them or any nearby guests, a cast member would be able to catch the act and stop the ride before things got out of hand. If you ever see a small red circle glowing while you're on a ride, that's a camera. These cameras are for guest safety and to stop people from jumping off their boat and living with the land and trying to grab cucumbers, or jump off their boat in It's a Small World to touch a doll, or jump off their boat in Pirates of the Caribbean. Seriously, guys, just stay in the boats. Cast members can't be everywhere at once, so those security cameras act as their eyes to make sure everyone is staying safe and acting on their best behavior. Even when you're on a ride in the dark and think no one's watching, they are definitely still watching. The only places that don't have security cameras around Disney? The bathrooms. Thank goodness. And your Disney World hotel room, too. And probably any changing rooms, now that I think about it. But cameras aren't the only security measures that are well disguised in the parks. Security cast members are everywhere, too, but you might not see them. When you walk into the parks, some of the first cast members you're gonna see are part of Disney's top-notch security system, and these are not hard to miss. Blue shirts, black hats, navy pants, utility belts with the walkies. Everything about their getup screams on patrol, but not every security cast member is dressed in that telltale ensemble. Some are much more subtle. In fact, some may be dressed just like you. Okay, not in a weird way, but in a park casual way. Disney's got undercover security cast members who walk the parks in regular old street clothes to better blend in with the crowd. That means some of these fellow guests exploring the parks alongside you could very well be undercover security, and that means if any funny business is happening in the parks, they'll be able to put a stop to it faster than other security cast members who are easier to spot but not always in the thick of the crowds. One of our team members was actually in Mickey's Star Traders in Magic Kingdom and heard a plainclothes security officer talking about a shoplifting situation and then saw someone taken out of the store. So those things happen on the regular. But those aren't the only folks who make up the cast member security team. Some security cast members are a little more furry. Yep, there's a canine security team in Disney World too. So if you see a patient pooch standing next to one of the security cast members outside the Disney gates or even inside the parks, then you've had the privilege of meeting a member of Disney's canine security team. Disney calls upon these highly trained canine cast members to detect any hazards before they reach the park gates. You may also see them perched outside other entrances, like over at one of the Magic Kingdom area resorts before you board the monorail. These doggos do a great job at staying focused and keeping us safe, which is why you should not pet them while they're on duty. Don't feel too bad about passing these doggies on by without handing out those extra neck scratches. These canines get plenty of love on and off the job. In fact, just this past summer, the Disney dogs were gifted with a magical moment by the Pixie Patrol team, aka cast members responsible for spreading extra magic for guests and fellow cast members. The pups got a ton of extra treats, tennis balls, and tummy rubs because they're the goodest and deserve all the rewards for a job well done. So what kind of things is Disney keeping their eye out for? What items could you pack in your bag that security will pinpoint as a major red flag? In 2020, a new security screening process popped up at the Disney World parks, and it's been saving us oodles of time ever since. But that doesn't mean it's not as effective as the security that used to be there before. If anything, it's better. Before, every guest that was carrying a purse or bag would have to go through a bag check procedure by one of the security cast members, and if you were getting your bag checked at the beginning of the day, these lines could be brutal. Nowadays, all you gotta do is walk through a security detector. As long as the contents inside your bag don't trigger that detector, you'll be on your merry little way into the park entrance. Be careful with items like iPads, laptops, umbrellas, metal water bottles, glasses cases with metal hinges, and even external chargers. Though none of these are illegal to take into the parks, they could still set off the detectors. And if you set off the detectors, then you have to go through the physical bag check procedure, though the line will be way shorter than it used to be. If you can, remember to take those types of things out of your bag and hold them up as you walk through the detectors. That way security cast members will know what triggered the red alert and be able to still help you bypass the bag check altogether. And if you don't remember, don't sweat it. Just because your bag set off a little warning doesn't mean you're in trouble. Just head over to get it checked by security security so you can get the all clear. But what items will not get the all clear? Well, there's a list of different prohibited items on the Disney World website. Some are more obvious, like weapons and drugs, and some might not have crossed your mind, like fog machines, because everybody needs a fog machine in Disney World, those glass baby food jar containers, noisemakers, and selfie sticks. Kind of an eclectic assortment. If a cast member stumbles across one of these items in your bag that aren't exactly life-threatening but still aren't allowed in the parks, you'll have one of two options. You can either A, dispose of the item right then and there, or backtrack all the way back to your car or hotel room and leave it behind. Yeah, it's best to just leave these back at home, period. Once again, if a cast member finds something in your bag that's not allowed, they're not going to get some strike against you or anything. Even some members of the DFB team have had cases where they've forgotten there was a pepper spray container still attached to their keychain, which is a big no-no in Disney's book, obviously. Just be respectful and understand that Disney asks you to not enter the gates with those items for the sake of their safety, your safety, and the safety of everyone else. So we've got cameras, cast members, and canines. Is there anything else keeping tabs on your whereabouts while you're in Disney? Well, you know those magic bands on your wrist? They hold more than just your tickets and reservations. According to the Disney website, guests who choose to wear either a Magic Band or Magic Band Plus can help the parks determine where they are at any given point in time. Now, these bands won't track you with some built-in GPS tech that'll make you feel like you're being watched by the mouse in the comfort of your own home. Instead, Magic Bands use two types of RFID chips, much like the chips you'll see on your credit cards. These chips help you to interact with nearby park features and features that are 40 feet away. For example, if you wave your Magic Band Plus in front of the park's golden character statues, the chip in these bands will know exactly which statue you're standing in front of, allowing the corresponding response to play from the statue. And if you're on a ride and a PhotoPass picture is taken, Disney can use your Magic Band to help track you down and make sure you receive the right photos. Disney can also use Bluetooth or enable location services on your phone to keep track of your whereabouts on their property. If this makes you uncomfortable, you can always opt to not have a Magic Band and turn your phone's location services and Bluetooth feature off. But more often than not, Disney's really not interested in keeping tabs on you because they're afraid you're going to break the rules at any given time. This tech is in place to help you out, right? So whether it be helping you find a nearby Disney restaurant with walk-up availability or tracking down your car when you lose it in the parking lot. By the way, that feature can be found on the My Disney Experience app. Just go to the main menu of options and scroll down till you find the car locator tab. This could be a major game changer for you. But does Disney use this data that they're tracking? Absolutely. So again, if that bothers you, turn off the Bluetooth on your phone, don't wear a Magic Band. But what happens if one of these cameras or security cast members catches you doing something bad, like real bad? Then drastic measures could be taken. Let's talk about Disney jail. Well, over in Disneyland, there is actually something that they call Alice's Room, which is kind of Disney jail. I actually know someone who had to go to it once because she tried to use her friend's annual pass to get into Disneyland when she was in high school. So Disney jail over there does sort of exist. But over in Disney World, we're not talking about jail cells you're going to find on Pirates of the Caribbean. There's not a full-on jail in Disney World. You're not going to find this underground layer with prison cells and shackles. But if a guest has been caught doing something majorly dangerous or disruptive, then they will be taken to the park's security office. So again, not exactly straight-up jail, but still, you don't want to wind up here. It's not going to be fun. There's not going to be hidden Mickeys or anything. In fact, if the crime is serious enough, Disney might not even keep you in their security office for very long. They could end up calling the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and they'll take over from there. Another rule in Disney World that a lot of people don't realize is that it's a no-fly zone. Back in 2003, Congress issued a no-fly zone to surround Disney World and Disneyland. The FAA made the no-fly zone a permanent status in 2014, making Disney World and Disneyland the only theme parks in the country to have this special security measure. No aircraft, including drones, can be flown within 3,000 feet of the ground on Disney World property. The no-fly zone does not apply to the Department of Defense or ambulance helicopters or law enforcement. Disney can operate their own aircraft, however, they need special waivers in order to do so, which may be one reason why we haven't seen a drone show in the parks. There has been a push over the past year to remove Disney's no-fly zone, but it seems as though this added security measure will be sticking around for now. Now, has anyone been able to get away with major park crimes in the past? Well, almost. Here are a few folks who fought the law in Disney World. Former cast member Patrick Spikes stole a whole lot more than you'd expect from the Disney company. Spikes worked as a cast member for the Disney World parks, and during his time he stole thousands of dollars worth of Disney props and ride manuals, park signs, costumes, even the heads of animatronics. Hi, please don't buy the heads of Disney animatronics on the black market, thanks. One of those heads was straight from Carousel of Progress and sold for $35,000. But the most valuable piece of Disney property that Spikes potentially, allegedly, stole was Buzzy, the audio animatronic that used to be part of the former Cranium Command attraction in Epcot, an animatronic that was valued at $400,000. We say potentially and allegedly because Spikes only actually tried to sell Buzzy's headphones, jacket, and hat. The rest of the animatronic remains missing to this very day. Eventually, Spikes was caught and charged with burglary at Epcot and the Magic Kingdom, as well as grand theft and trafficking in stolen Haunted Mansion costumes. According to the Orlando Sentinel, Spikes paid $25,308 in restitution, as well as performed 250 hours of community service. Oh, he's also been banned from the Disney theme parks for life. Though Spikes didn't serve any major jail time, a new documentary is now in the works surrounding the events of the wrongdoing and debauchery, quote-unquote, at Walt Disney World called Stolen Kingdom. And can you guess whose story is going to be fully explored during the course of this film? I'll give you a hint. It's not Aladdin. Now, Patrick Spikes isn't the only person who's ever been banned from Disney. If you push your luck too far, you could wind up in the same situation and get put on that Disney World blacklist. So there are different ways Disney World handles altercations, and it all depends on the severity of the crime. Some situations, like frequently cutting in line, making rude gestures, and attempting to smoke inside the parks, will more than likely get you kicked out for the day with no chance of a refund. But if the situation is far more severe, like say sneaking backstage and trying to steal thousands of dollars worth of Disney property, then you'll be added to Disney's blacklist and banned not just from Disney World, but from any and all Disney parks, including the cruise lines. Disney documents what exactly happened and takes a photo of the offending guest to keep on record. There are numerous stories of folks getting kicked out of the parks, though things like jumping from ride vehicles, stealing strollers, and breaking into backstage buildings can warrant you a year-long or even lifetime ban from the parks. Want to stay in Disney's good graces? Then you're gonna need to know what things to avoid while you're in the parks, and some of those laws might surprise you. So what's against the law that you might not know? Like I mentioned before, there are some Disney rules that are very obvious, like don't be belligerent, don't bring weapons, don't do drugs. But some of these rules may not seem as obvious. Let me give you a few examples so you can make sure you're keeping on your best behavior. First of all, adults cannot wear full-on character costumes. No matter how cool and authentic your Disney cosplay is, your job in the parks is to be a guest. Disney's already got their characters, they don't need to be seen double. Kids are totally allowed to dress up still. The Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique can help you in that department too. And adults can still Disney bound, aka wear an everyday outfit inspired by a Disney character. But the only time adults will be allowed to parade around the parks in a full-on Disney character ensemble is during the Magic Kingdom After Hours party, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. And by the way, full masks on your face are never ever allowed, like the ones that cover your whole face, your eyes, your nose, everything, right? Costumes are the only thing you'll want to think twice about. Your regular old clothing may not cut it at Disney World. For a minute there, we saw a lot of viral TikToks going around about wearing inappropriate clothing to the parks in order to get a free t-shirt. Well, often you won't get anything but an escort out of the parks. Clothing that has inappropriate imagery or words and clothing that doesn't cover up quite enough of you may be deemed not okay for the theme parks. Disney's theme park dress code explains that all attire should be acceptable for a family environment, and it's up to the cast members to determine when you might need to change your shirt or potentially cover up a not-so-family-friendly tattoo before entering the parks. Want to make sure you got park-appropriate tees? Grab one from our merch shop at merch.dfbstore.com for a 100% family-friendly shirt in sizes for everybody. You're not allowed to feed the alligators. Now, though it's unlikely you'll see an alligator hanging out in Disney lakes, it's definitely not impossible. They are there, and if you do see one, don't feed it. In fact, refrain from feeding any wildlife, even the Disney ducks, because this throws off their natural hunter-gatherer instincts and makes them more dependent on people, which could in turn make them more aggressive. Also, this is a weird one. Don't pull any weeds. Now, this one sounds like you'd be doing Disney a favor, right? Helping out with the yard work? But trust me, that's not the case. This actually isn't just a Disney law. It's a Florida law. According to the Florida Aquatic Weed Control Act, no person or public agency shall control, eradicate, remove, or otherwise alter any aquatic weeds or plants in waters of the state unless a permit for such activity has been issued by the commission. Sounds pretty serious, but Florida doesn't just do this to be nitpicky. This is another way to protect the ecosystems that thrive in the state, so the natural environments for plants and animals aren't accidentally altered. Now, one last reminder, it is easy to stay on Disney's good side. Just be courteous and mindful of the rules in place because they're not there to suck away your fun. They're there for good, law-abiding reasons that'll hopefully give you some peace of mind and make sure that everybody has a good time when you're on vacation. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.